Hello everyone. Today I'm gonna show you guys a video on things to look over while purchasing a dirt bike. I'm gonna do a 2-stroke and I'm gonna do a 4-stroke. They're both very similar on how I look over some things. It's just some tricks on what I do. What helps me knowing if I'm getting a good bike or a bad bike. The first thing I do is when I text the person and I say I'm interested in looking at it, I tell them don't start it. I don't want you to start it. Don't have it be warm. Uh, if you start the bike, I probably won't even buy it. Like I want to come to a cold bike, and that's very important when it comes to 4-strokes. Because if they have a weak piston or if the valves aren't closing properly, if they kick it 20 times and get it running and then you come and look at it and it's warmed up, it's going to fire up in one kick and you don't know what you're getting. But whether it's a 4-stroke or a 2-stroke, I tell them not to start it. There's a couple things that I bring along. Usually 8mm socket on a ratchet, a 10mm socket on a ratchet, a 12 and a 14. I bring my own gas because I've actually showed up and they haven't had any gas. And whatever, I just always bring my own. If it's a 2-stroke, I bring a 2-stroke gas, which I run AMSOIL 50 to 1, 2.5 ounces to every gallon. If it's a 4-stroke, I just run anything that doesn't have ethanol in it. I recommend 91. Sometimes I run a 50-50 ratio on a 91 octane to a 110 octane, but usually, most of the time, it just, if it doesn't have ethanol in it, I'm going to buy it. But yeah, these are just some things to look at. These are my own personal bikes that I'll be using in the video. There hasn't really been anything that I want to buy yet that sparked my eye. I guess mainly I'm mainly on the market for maybe another PW50, a CRF50, or a CR or KX500. That's really all I'm looking for at the moment. Unless a deal comes up, then sometimes I buy it, but every time I buy a bike, I end up keeping it. So that's why I just tend to buy what I want. But yep, watch the video and hopefully these tricks help. Alright, so these are the things I bring while I'm going to go look at a dirt bike. Now this probably mainly goes towards like a motocross bike, but you can use the same method for any type of a dirt bike. So I bring the stand. So I can get the bike up in the air. You want the bike up in the air. You can use a 5-gallon bucket. You can use anything, even a chunk of wood. Just something that's, a few feet high that can get the bike up off the ground. Both wheels you want to try to do, but if not, at least get the rear because that's where all the linkage bearings and everything are. Compression tester. I like bringing them. You can do the old thumb trick, hold it over the spark plug hole and blows off. But if I'm spending like $2,500 or more, I like to be sure on what I'm getting because that's a lot of money to spend on a bike, and I want to make sure it's 100%. I bring my pick in case the guy tells me it's got a brand new piston in it, and if I feel like he's lying, I pull off the pipe and look at the skirt and the piston and see on how much wear there is. And then I bring my 8mm, my 10mm, my 12mm, my 13, and my 14. Shouldn't really need anything other than that. And then this is the kind of oil that I use along where I'll normally bring my own can of gas. So let's get started, and I'll show you on how I do this.
Is it going to work this time?
Yeah, it will. Just trust me, it doesn't turn off. I don't know what anybody's doing. Is it playing yet? It's playing. Yeah, so hit it again. Okay, so right here is a CR 252 stroke, 2006. So as you can tell, come in here and get the bike. It's been sitting a while. Like sometimes you'll get this whenever you're looking at a bike and it's sitting. The seals, they'll always leak a little bit over time. So you just pull up them caps and clean them up. So now all the bike's in the air. This is why I bring my own stand, as I like to make sure all the bearings are good on it. So I grab the wheel and I make sure there's no play in it. I grab down here. And then usually what I'll do is I'll hold it down and just make sure there's no play. You want to move it up and down. Make sure there's no play in there whatsoever. And you'll hear it. And then I come over here and I check the front. And then I'll move the front. Make sure the neck bearings are all good. Everything seems to be really good at it. Now you can check the oil. There's a checking bolt right here. It's a 50-50 shot. Sometimes they're stripped, sometimes they're not. So I normally don't check it. I just kind of take the guy's word on it. He owns the bike. So I don't really want to mess anything up on it. Then I check the coolant. Because the guy you're buying it from, he might not know anything about it. And to make sure it's got fluid in there. It's good. I kick it over. Now this is the part where you can do the compression test. I'm not going to do it because that compression tester is broken, so it doesn't do me any good. But this will even tell you if you don't have a compression tester. It'll tell you if it's got a good top end in it or not. Just when you kick it over and you got to do that little grunt, it's usually pretty good. Another thing to look for are brake pads. You got them in there? You got to look from right here. Yep. See? There's the pad part. And you want to feel the rotor. Make sure there's no gouges on it. You know, like I said, if you're buying like a $600 dirt bike, $800, you don't have to get picky. But when you're talking a couple grand, you're going to want to get picky. Now, some places where I like to look are possible where a case would be broken. So like right in here, where a chain would break. You're going to want to look in here. You're just going to want to look. Just take a look and see if you see any JB weld or anything. Now, obviously, if you're going to go buy a $3,000 dirt bike, I hope it's a little cleaner than this one. Then another thing you're going to want to look for is at the drain bolt. You're going to want to make sure there's no leaking from it or anything, because it could be stripped, it could be popped. So you take the bike over and you lean it on its side. You come over here. And you take a peek at this bolt. You make sure there's no breaks in the case. You make sure the frame, nothing's really welded up on it. You look up here, there's really no leaking from the pipe. Make sure this case ain't leaking in the middle gasket. This is just overflow from fuel, so that's fine. While you're down here, make sure it's got all its bolts in it. Nothing's really cobbled up. Everything seems to be fairly good. It's definitely, you know, it's a nice bike. That's something to look for while you're underneath it. So then now that you did all that, and you're taking the guy's word on it, that there's enough fuel in it and enough oil. Like I said, I always bring my own fuel in case they don't have any and I came across it. So another thing you can do, let's say the guy says there's a new top end in it. I'm not going to do it. And some people will get a little picky about it. I've had people come up and want to do it, and I'll usually do it for them. Just because it's my bike, I'm picky. But yeah, you come here and you pop off this mount. You don't want to take the one off the frame because then you got to realign it when you hook it up. But it's not a big deal. Pop this off. Pop this off. Now you got to remember this is not your bike. So you need to be careful when you're doing this. That's why I understand if they don't want me to do it. And then you pop off these two springs. And then you take a look and see the skirt on the cylinder. But a compression test will tell you really anything you need to know. I would say 120 or more. It's got a good top end in it. Anything under than that, it's going to need a piston. Maybe not like right away, but it definitely is not a fresh top end. So now we're going to do the 450. Well, just wait. I forgot to do something. So this is something that I always do whenever I go and look at a bike. This I always do. I don't even care if it's a $600 bike. I want to see how's that air filter look. You don't know. The guy might have never changed it. Another thing to figure out too is wherever you're buying the bike, what kind of terrain did they ride it in? Right here in Wisconsin, a good place if they tell me Deercues, extremely sandy. So if they're like, yeah, I rode at Deercues all the time, that's fine, but I am for sure checking that airbox. I always check the airbox. This filter's pretty good. Dude, you can tell I haven't taken off this seat in like years. I mean, what the fuck's going on? It's this fucking seat cover. So now you're just going to want to kind of look in here. And you know, it's kind of dirty. I would rather it be a little dirty than really clean. I've had it where you come in and they're just spick and span. I don't like that. I mean, I get it. You're cleaning the bike up. You want to make it the best it can be. But it kind of shows me too that maybe you could be hiding something. But the most important trick to do of all is take off this air filter. And if they don't let me do this when I'm looking at a bike, I won't buy it. I'll walk away. I don't want it. I don't even care if it's a screaming deal because I'm not going to sell it to someone if it's junk. Take your hand, make sure it's clean, and stick it down in that hole. Make sure you don't feel any dirt in there. Nothing. Now here, come over here and show them the inside of the airbox. Right there. See down where that groove is? You can even get a piece of paper towel. Bring a piece of white paper towel and shove it down in there and pull it out and make sure no dirt comes out. If dirt comes out, that's not a good sign. That means that there's dirt getting in the engine. Though they could possibly clean it all up. And you could never know, but that's the best method of knowing if they ever took care of it or not. But you know, if they take the time to sit there and clean the airbox out, and clean the air filter, and clean the bike up, chances are that they took the time to maintain it as well. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. This air filter is actually shot. Here, bring it here. Show them the camera. Watch this. That's junk. You don't want that. That's a 2-layer filter. It's not my bike, so I'll have to let the person know who owns it. That they need a filter. So that's something to look at whenever you're out purchasing a bike. The air filter trick, like I do it all the time. I did it with that bike over there. I was only paying $700 for it. You don't know. You know, if you're paying $700 for a bike, and if it sucked up a bunch of dirt, it's not a $700 dirt bike anymore. When they suck up dirt, the cylinder goes out, and then eventually it goes into the crankcase. The only way you can fix it before it blows up is to literally tear the entire engine apart and clean everything and put all new bearings and seals in it. That's the only way you can save it without it blowing up. But usually if they suck up dirt, just let nature run its course. Might save the cylinder. That's about it. Okay, so now that's done. I mean to tell my dad to get a filter for that. Of course, he probably ain't gonna ride it for 2 more years, so it doesn't matter. Having hip surgery. So right here, a 454 stroke. So obviously, you all know, you do the same thing. Check, make sure, the bearings are fine. Feel spokes, make sure they're not all loose or anything. Make sure everything's good on the bike. But one thing I do, whenever I come to buy a 4-stroke, even a 2-stroke, I do this. I make sure that motor's not hot at all. Obviously, I do my normal going through it, checking fluid, make sure there's enough oil in it. In a CRF Honda, there's a Cyclast, which is right over here on this side of the engine. Make sure there's enough oil in it. Make sure that, but the one thing I like to know, so I do everything the same on a 2-stroke. Check the air filter, put it up in the air, check the bearings. Just check everything over, make sure it's going to be a good bike. But on a 4-stroke, I do this. And if it's warm at all, I walk away. Like I would sit there and wait for it to cool down. I'd wait till it's cold. So obviously this bike's been sitting for a while, cold, spring's coming. But you got a good one, so if it's been sitting a while, if you got to do like 6 to 10 kicks, that's okay. If it's cold outside, if it's like 30 degrees, you got to kick it a bunch of times, that's okay. But if it's like a normal 65-degree day, 70-degree day, and if you're just kicking, it's junk. There's something wrong with it. It all comes down on the temperatures on what you're looking at. Right now, it's probably about 45, 50 degrees today. This bike's been sitting a while. I brought my own gas. I gave it some fresh goat gas. Let's see how many kicks does it take. Give it a little break, double check, make sure everything's on, give it a few more rocks. It's been sitting a while, so now you got to get the oil moving in the cylinder, you got to get the gas flowing through the carb again. This is normal. Here's a good spot to look for leaks. You want to check out the exhaust. You want to leave it run for a little while. Quite a few did after you start coming out really bad. Everything's good. It even sounds good. This thing is just kind of Oh, maybe she wasn't quite warmed up enough. Now, whenever you take for a spin, you're going to want to go from first all the way to fifth gear, not wide open, but just shift through it. So you know the transmission. Now, one thing you want to do to make sure the clutch is grabbing, you need to give it a quick crack on the throttle. You want to make sure the wheels are
I'd be scared to do that. You grew up on bikes.
So those are all signs to know whether you're getting a good bike or not. That's what I do. Obviously, you don't have to ride a long wheelie, but just so that wheel pops up. That's when you know that clutch is grabbing good. That's about all I can think of right now offhand. Right now it's kind of the dirt bike buying season. So I want everybody to be cautious on what they're buying. So nobody doesn't get screwed over this spring. Have a happy buy-ins. Thank you for watching my channel. Like and subscribe.
You need to go over everything with her. It's been a while.
Alright, so Lacey, I want to get you on film here. The last time she rode, she broke her leg. Riding the PW50. Now, her brother just got done jamming out some laps on the Honda 50. So, I'm going to go over a few exercises with her, and then we'll get her riding. My battery's on low, so hopefully I have time to get this on film. See how that works? Now remember, only look ahead. Don't care about us.
Put your feet up. Slow down. There you go. Keep going. Oh, even the puppers are cheering for Lacey. Oh.
I think we're running up Grandpa's yard. I think we'll have to go jam somewhere else.